Hello guys, welcome to yet another 3 p.m. live with us at Networking Now India. I'll wait for a few people to log in before I get started. Good to see all of you as always, logging in slowly. Hi everyone, hi forum, hi Disha. Sorry for the delay, as usual, internet issues. So, today we're chatting with Parthip Thyagrajan, who is the CEO of WeddingSutra.com. So let me give you a bit of a brief about him. Parthip Thyagrajan is the CEO of WeddingSutra.com, India's leading wedding media company. It was set up in March 2000. Wedding Sutra's properties include WeddingSutra.com, the #1 destination for to-be weds online. Wedding Sutra Engage, a powerful platform that brings together the best in the luxury events industry. Wedding Sutra Photography Awards and Wedding Sutra Influencer Awards. As you can see, they do a lot of things. Now I'm going to get Parthip on board to start telling us a little bit about what they do. How are you guys? Hi Sugar, how are you? How's everyone doing? Hi Shivam, how are you? Hi N Creations, hi Sachi. Guys, sorry, I'm just waiting for Parthip to log in for us to get him here. Hi Barkha, how are you? Hi Suzanne. Okay, Parthip, where are you? Thank you, Shivam. Hey, Ashita. Everyone's logging in. How sweet. That's really sweet that you say this is the happiest hour of your day. I'm just waiting for Parthip to log in from Wedding Sutra so we can get started. Sorry guys. So I think we've got Parthip here.
Hi Shaan.
Parthip, how are you?
Good to see you.
How are you?
For a change, we are not. For a change, we are not meeting offline. Huh?
I know. This is so different. This is for the first time you and I are doing this. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah, how's
You're
the
looking
lockdown
very
treating you?
good, and you're looking very well rested, as if you've come straight from a spa. I hope you didn't really visit a spa.
Parthip, this is the new me, Parthip. I sleep at 10 p.m. and I wake up at 7:30 a.m. This is a change, Shaan. You may see me a very different person post the lockdown.
Lovely. Good to hear that. And looking forward.
So I'm well rested. How are you doing? All well with you?
All well. Enjoying the change and making the most of this time by doing things which I would not regularly do, thanks to the fact that I thought I was a pro at multitasking, and that's when you realize that it's not always a strength, right? It is always nice to enjoy what you're doing, enjoy the moment rather than doing 5 things at a time.
Totally agree. Parthip and you and me are the people that do 5 things at a time. So it's really good that I have you here today to chat with me, because we're so similar in what we do and how we are.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to have our viewers hear from you today about how you've grown Wedding Sutra. So of course I gave them a brief, but I'd love for you to tell us about WeddingSutra.com and how you got started.
Sure. You would be aware that I have a background in media. I used to work for the Times of India Group, and I worked there for 4 years post my MBA. And Wedding Sutra was the idea of my business partner and Wedding Sutra co-founder, Madhulika Mathur. When she shared the idea with me, this was in 2000, and I've said, wow, this is really something, because I was aware of the fact that in India, so many drawing room conversations are all about weddings. And
Yes.
coming from a media background, I knew it's a fantastic idea to have a wedding media company. And what was really important at that time, and I'll put it in very simple words, obviously we are right now in 2020, and as I was telling you beforehand itself, let's talk about the future, let's talk about the now, but let's not talk too much about the past. But I'll share this and quickly tell you that one of the reasons why Wedding Sutra succeeded among many portals which who really launched in 2000, there were probably 20 wedding portals, 40 women portals. 2000 to be a dot comma was very fashionable,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the dot commas used to go to the equivalent of networking now, engaging events on something called E Tuesday, which was sponsored by Sula Vineyards. So
Oh, okay.
all the young entrepreneurs who were from media, finance, marketing backgrounds who had just launched a portal would meet once a month and enjoy conversations just as they would at a networking now evening. So this was in
Wow.
2000 when we launched it. What really made a difference was the fact that we focused a lot on user experience. We understood that internet connectivity was not great at that time. People were just getting onto the web, and women wanted to read, articles around inspiration, and they were not obviously ready to shop at that time. They just wanted information, and we quickly figured that if there are, two content pieces which are doing very well. It was around
Yeah.
fashion, beauty, jewelry. We
Yeah.
had a lot of content around that. And thus began our journey of talking to brands about how to advertise on a platform like ours. This is even pre-social media. So it was a
Wow.
lot of fun, and we were the only ones doing it, really. Very few people who would really reaching out to brands and talk about, and we would actually open the website for them on their PC. Sometimes we would carry our laptop. Of course, I can go on and on about those days, and it was fun. And when you look back, the most interesting day was the one where you had to do everything, right from being a peon to scanning photos to managing content to handling client calls. And if someone was to ask me which was the most memorable day, it was probably the day when I worked for 14 hours and I did everything that was required.
Wow, Parthip, that's amazing, honestly, because you've been through, and this is your 20th year.
That's right, yes.
This is a huge year. This is your 20th year for Wedding Sutra. So, what's the journey been like? Has it been very different from when you started till where you are now? Of course, now is the age of social media, and a lot of stuff has moved digital. But how different has it been?
Absolutely. I think every few years has been different. And now, of course, the next few years will be so different simply because we will all wonder about how really, the new wedding will be like. How can we create content which is relevant to
Yeah,
the bride? And, how do we really put out pictures which really strike a chord with the followers, yet make them feel that this is a wedding they can relate with? So there are so many challenges you have. There are challenges and there are opportunities. So let me start by saying, in the first few years, the issue was really about internet connectivity. A lot of people wanted to get online, but you needed to, I'm sure you also remember on your MTNL line, you would dial up and you will see the thing. And if there was a phone call coming, your internet connection would get disconnected.
yeah.
So those were the things really about educating, but we were the only wedding portal who actually survived after 1 year. And we were the only ones who were creating content on weddings online. We had a huge NRI audience. And that was also a time when many brands were not online. Many of the designer brands, beauty and other brands who are today members of networking now and who have a very active social media presence, none of them were online. So the only place where you could read about wedding vendors was Wedding Sutra. So it was, and also it was really the most difficult task, I think, at that time. Today, we get almost about 50 emails from brides to be every day wanting to be featured on Instagram. They say, can I
Wow.
just have one picture of mine on Instagram? But you know, Shaan, in 2000 and 2001, it was even difficult to convince my good friends and family members to share their wedding photos. Internet was
Yeah,
almost a scary thing. Oh, I want to give my photos, but my in-laws are not allowing me to do so, or my
yeah,
mother is not allowing
yeah.
me. So our biggest challenge was creating the content. We had, of course, a very good thanks to my, some relationships with, writers who would contribute regularly. And and gradually we moved from, not immediately from 2000 to 2005. Gradually we moved from a phase where 80% of our content was coming from real brides. So which means today we have so many photos which come from real brides who either want to be featured on. Initially it was all about, they were very happy to write very long articles. Today the first thing is, will I be on your Instagram page? And of course, can I get a feature on real destination weddings, featured weddings, real brides, real style? These are the features on our site. As you rightly put it, social media, there was nothing. This was pre-2000 or 7 or something. There was nothing. Facebook had a very, very basic presence. 2007 to 2010 were the golden years of Facebook, where all brides were spending time on our Facebook page. And soon, by the time we really had our numbers on Facebook, we had to then get on to Instagram in a couple of years, because that is where the action lies.
Yeah,
today, of course, Instagram, there's a different challenge which is there, which is, your organic reach may be low. You really need to figure out how to engage with your audience on Instagram as well as other, other social media. So every day is a new learning, and I think I'm very curious to know what the next 12 months or 24 months has in store for us. And I think that'll be the most exciting time, I'm sure.
I think so. And Parthip, like you said earlier, people wouldn't want to share photos of them. But I feel like the trends are changing, as you've mentioned. And today, brides are becoming overnight celebrities just by a post on their wedding sutra, or just by, having an open profile and sharing their best designer looks. So times are changing, and people are willing to, share a lot more. Let's put it that way. So this is another topic that I'm, of course, very passionate about, and I chat with you about it a lot, is networking. This is something I've always believed in, and I also know this is something you've always done as well, in a very positive way, and you never shy down from chatting with me about it. So I wanted to ask you, you all host many events. What is your take on growing your business via networking? What's the best way?
See, I think, let's talk about it. Networking is something which some people immensely enjoy, like me and you, and it's something we never get tired of. And connecting people gives us energy, and it is we feel positive, we feel energized, and we feel happy. So there are different people who have different skill sets. But the good thing about the wedding industry is it's a very people-oriented industry. You have some people who are very talented and whom you will not see much on social media, or who will quickly finish the job at about 7 o'clock, and then they'll quickly leave as soon as the wedding is to start. The same is with some photographers who will quietly work behind the scene, quietly click those photos. And there are some photographers who are so social. They know exactly at the wedding who are the best friends of the brides who are going to get married. They'll take those photos. They'll share their numbers. So it's not something which they are doing. Some people may feel it's being too marketing savvy. But I think there's nothing called too much into it or too less into it. It is your individual style.
Yeah.
And I think social media has really enabled people like me and you to enjoy networking, because it helps us connect with people online before we even meet them. So obviously, like whenever I introduce you to someone, so many people at my events have never met you in person. But the moment I say, and the good thing is they may not even know your full name. I say Shaan Khanna of Networking Now. The moment they say Networking Now, wow, I follow your page. And, there are so many people I've been able to find thanks to Networking Now. There is one trait which I figured on LinkedIn, and I think that's a trait which you have and which I have. It is both of us have tolerance to ambiguity. And I've made a lot of LinkedIn connections thanks to people with the skill that when you are meeting someone, you do not, or you are making an effort to go for an event. There are some people who will say, okay, there's a Wedding Sutra Engage which is happening. Tell me what is going to happen. So I was like, listen, just come, okay? And then I'll take care of you, don't worry. And there are some who are saying, wow, I've heard about Wedding Sutra Engage, and they may not even be from the wedding industry. They are just my connections on LinkedIn, and said, okay, 3 p.m. we will be there at Blue Sea. Now, yes. And then when you're there, they're not going to come and ask me, okay, I don't know anybody here. Can you introduce me to some people? And it's like, hey, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be listening to the speakers. I will find a way to make friends.
Yeah.
And then gradually they end up, and that's also another trait which we have. Even if you're not introduced to somebody, we figure a way to find what's common. And social media has enabled us, I think, to even be more social.
Absolutely, you said it bang on. I couldn't, explain more. Today I was writing an article on networking, and I have to give a talk on it. And the one thing that came to my mind is, don't go to an event and stand in a corner. Don't go to an event and not talk, because me and Parthip can't be the ones being like, hey, meet this one, hey, meet that one. Go and make your presence felt. So yes, there are different people that do it differently. But the next thing I want to ask you is, according to you, what's the best marketing strategy a brand should use to grow their awareness or their reach? So you and I chat about this all the time, and any clients that I know have a wedding background or can be used to brides, I always connect them to you. And I'm often just emailing like 2 lines and saying, Parthip, meet so-and-so, and this is, and then of course, you've taken their brand to the extreme next level. So what, according to you, is the best marketing strategy that you think brands can adopt?
So at this point, let us talk of creative entrepreneurs. I think the most successful creative entrepreneurs are those who know their real strengths, and with a certain level of confidence, they end up doing what they feel will work for their clients. Yeah. The moment you are, in a very simple word, I think, let me demystify marketing in my own way and just say, how useful are you to somebody? It is that you, again, since you've been very kind to Wedding Sutra, let me be a little more kind to networking now and saying that when you could do a 1-para write-up on networking now and tell somebody that this is what networking now does. But even before you talk about what networking now does, an entrepreneur who follows you will say, oh my God, networking now is so useful. That, in simple words, you probably are getting a lot of advice. Oh, Shaan, you should do this, you should do that, okay? But you have in your own way figured how you can be useful to your audience these are basically creative entrepreneurs. These could be people who could be working out of home, they could be having a studio, or they could be so many people who were earlier working out of home and who really scaled up their business. Yeah. And many of whom have also been, part of our journey and whom we've enjoyed working with. So these are people who again, I come back to the team, they know what their real strengths are. Supposing they are a company who says, you know what, I may not be very good at doing this. Therefore, I will concentrate on 5 other things. They're not going to come and ask Parthip, you know what, this page, they're always on Wedding Sutra. How can I always be on Wedding Sutra? There are some people, thanks to their content or thanks to the kind of clients they have got, or sometimes thanks to their personal network, they do get a certain file of clients. It's not that, and of course, whatever said and done, if you've been a part of a certain wave, we have seen that happening. Say, for example, you've seen that with bloggers. Maybe 10 years back, there was a blogger who was really not making money. And then we've seen in the last couple of years, there were a couple of these bloggers who just rode that wave. And luck plays a certain important role. And when you talk of brand building, it is very difficult for me to give one answer, because there are some people who may have budgets and there are some who may not have budgets. Yeah. But yes, networking is one of the tools. And if you're good at it, really tap into it. Then, of course, today we all know, how do you build your brands digitally? Figure out in your own way. It doesn't mean that you have to go in for an online course. Spend time with people who really kind of, who give you positive energy, and who are people you can trust. Again, you have to use your own intuition. There are no formula here. And let's face it, going forward, you really will not know what to do, because every business who is going to be supporting you is also in a learning phase. Yeah. So including Wedding Sutra and networking now, because this... post the uncertainty, you will find some shifts. And of course, the debate will always be how long this shift will be there. And I think we are all always answering that question. And again, since we're talking of brand building, I personally feel that lockdown does result in some mindset shifts which are not temporary but long term. And
Absolutely.
therefore, to woo to keep your existing customer as client as happy and to woo back your old client are both going to be challenges, and not challenges like similar to what you may have faced 10 years earlier. The other thing is, of course, we talking of creative entrepreneurship and the Indian context. There is a lot of talk. There a lot of entrepreneurs are spending time with each other, trying to learn. Like I'm giving an example of the wedding industry, and there are those who say, who are, who are kind of very maybe I would say have that less fear to say, hey, you know what, a lot of change may happen, and I need to be prepared for it, rather than wondering when the vaccine will, be discovered, or when the lockdown will be lifted. Again, we
Yeah,
come
it's a
back to this whole
mindset. Yeah.
tolerance to ambiguity. So these are the things, and we are all going to be learning about mindset shifts post lockdown. Also, just the way some consumers behaved in China, it may not be similar here, or just the way some behaved in Italy or New York. It will not be probably Bombay, Delhi. So this is something we need to wait and watch.
Keep in mind. Absolutely agree. Couldn't have said it better. So now we've noticed one thing, that during this lockdown, at least I've been seeing that it's all about digital and so many people are moving online. So what's your take on this growing even more post-COVID? And should really brands make that switch to going more digital and more technology based?
See, we also figured there's so much we've ended up doing because of certain resources available. We had because of Wedding Sutra engaged, there were so many hotels, venues who wanted to host this something like a networking afternoon. But just see how digital has changed it today. You're doing a Insta live with me. We never thought of doing it 2 years back, and there are so many
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who can learn. Of course, digital will always have its limitation,
Yeah.
and similarly, even anything offline. When I talk about, it could be an offline event, it could be even a store which is paying a huge amount of rent and has people who work for them commuting 4 hours a day. And when you
Yeah.
look back, you say, hey, why should this even happen? What has the world come to? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't we just make life easy for all?
Yeah.
In this context, Shaan, I'm a firm believer that while me and you are really going to be doing whatever we do, like we are a digital media company, we are a wedding media
Absolutely.
company,
Yeah.
you are an online platform, but there will always be, at some time or the other, that space for something which is a personal interaction.
Yeah.
So the moment there is a personal touch, now we're all worried about touch. The moment there's a personal touch, it's time for a personal interaction. Because there
Yeah.
can never be a personal interaction, at least I now feel, without a hug or a handshake.
Yeah.
So either we
Absolutely.
get used to a personal interaction without a handshake, and being able to communicate to a person where we can't see that beautiful smile,
Yeah.
or we are really looking forward to that world where there's a personal interaction. So that will
Yeah.
be very true for so many brands who have to take all the precautions to ensure that the customer feels secure. Right now we're all reading about designers. It's about how people are not. We were all very comfortable with the master doing the the measurements. Now that may not happen for some time. It's very interesting to see how the salon businesses, all these businesses, much as people believe, are waiting for their favorite salon or their
Yeah.
favorite store to open. I
Yeah.
think the wisest brands are those who are not going to open in a hurry. They will be prepared for the new phase. Till then, they'll figure out take care, do home visits. Even before doing that, can I be prepared for that? I think all hotels today know that it's not about the government order on when. I think a lot of people are asking on IG Live what will happen to weddings and when will we get permissions from hotels. I think it is not about when the government will issue an order saying you can have a wedding for 50, 100 or 150 people. It is how the hotel is preparing for this change, keeping all eventualities in mind, that in one room, the main function can happen. In the second room, you can have a live screening. In the third room, you have food arrangements. But in all this, Shaan, just remember, if everything is going to be so clinical, a hotel has a challenge about thinking, how can I be different from a hospital? A salon is thinking, how can I be different from a clinic? Because what is it which happens to you when you go to a hospital? Your temperature is checked. The first person you meet is a nurse. Now, obviously, those are elements which will be there in a hotel tomorrow. But if that is the element in every hotel, how is a Taj different from a St. Regis, and how is a St. Regis different from a JW Marriott Jew? So these are things which every creative entrepreneur, creative business, or anybody who is, doing something which is earlier involved the human connection or touch, will have to think about. What is the soul of my business? How is it different? Because on digital, the differentiation may not immediately come across.
Yeah, absolutely right. So Ritika Bulaki of Canvas Design Events says, in all likeliness, wedding spends will be impacted by COVID. Do you think it's a knee-jerk reaction, or will it permanently change the landscape of weddings in India for good? Great question.
Very good question. And I think there are two people who should answer this question. One is a bride who is going to get married, and she has not done her shopping. Let's reach out. And I think she has not done any of her shopping. And she'll probably just say, hey, you know what? Just because weddings have happened like that, let's see what's happening. And let's probably do something what I really believe in, not because it is a post-COVID thing. So she will do what she believes in. She will spend on what is important to her, and yet keeping in mind the current constraints. And the other perspective we all have to ask ourselves is a guest perspective. How comfortable will we be, or how much we look? So I know a lot of people who are saying, you know what, Parthip, in November and December, my wish is I want to attend one wedding every day. I've kept,
imagine me, Parthip.
I've kept, a guy can say, I've got 10, he will say, okay, fine, I have so many outfits and I'm waiting to wear. But let's ask ourselves that if they are saying, you know what, I'm really going to enjoy this, and I'm sure the hotel, now again, the responsibility is with the hotel, the responsibility is the planner and the host. It's not just the hotel, it's also the host. Let's say that really making everybody, are you having fun? Okay. And are you feeling, do you really feel it's worth the effort? You're getting ready, going there. If you're really going to be tense, you're saying that, I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to eat outside. I'm going to come back and eat. How many people will want to go back for a wedding? So these are things we have to see what is really the guest perspective. And I tell every wedding planner that if you really want to understand what's going to happen, always ask a guest who receives invitations, guests of different ages, because what is really beautiful about an Indian wedding is it has everything from kids till so many senior citizens. Whatever you may say about that bride who wants to have her dream wedding in Maldives, for so many of them, it is so special that her grandparents also need to be there. And you ask so many photographers who are now applied for the Wedding Sutra Photography Awards. This year, we introduced a new category called Kids. And the number of submissions we've got for kids. And it's so different from abroad where, at many functions, the kids are not taken. It's a sit-down dinner. But our weddings are always about, it's about the smiles. It's about the warm hugs. And it's about getting blessings from your elders.
Absolutely,
and the day you can tell your grandparents or granduncles, okay, I'll drive you down to this friend's wedding at Taj President, and you're not worried that day. This could be maybe in a couple of months, and it could take much longer, because I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound too optimistic, and nor do I want to sound pessimistic. So let's be realistic.
Absolutely, Parthiv. You couldn't have said it better. And I hope we're back to normal soon, really, and back at weddings. So Tamira, who runs Tamira PR, she's a PR agent. She says, Parthiv, any tips on how PR will evolve or change post-COVID, since print editions are closed and everything is digital? Very good question.
Yes. So Tamira, I think what is, a lot of brands will need your support post-COVID, because if they are, one is, if they are probably have been spending on advertising, they may decide to do some short-term campaign through a PR initiative, and you will really need to communicate what is it that the brand is doing. You may have been working with a certain set of influencers, but I feel among the influencers who are currently most influential, the ones who will continue to be influential in future are the ones who will really change their presentation to suit the environment. So there's currently a certain environment that you're homebound, and how is it that you're spending time at home? And then it is about a certain responsibility which comes to you as a influencer. Some may adopt the humor route, some may adopt a very natural route. So there was a time when we always looked at people traveling very far, and we would envy them. There's a kind of resort where they are wearing. I'm not sure how much we are at this point of time envying those who have traveled, because all we want now is the simple luxury of life, of really just forget about a restaurant or a cafe. We just want to go to the I just want to go to the farsan shop next to my house and pick up some khandvi and dhokla. That's all. These are the simple pleasures, and things will change a little. So what is there are certain influencers who've done very well in the boom phase with the way they have presented themselves, their jet-setting lifestyle, and that brings me to the other question: the kind of clients whom PR agencies, or the kind of followers whom the bloggers have, they have been jet setters, and I'm very also curious to know how the jet setters will actually re-evaluate their lifestyles. In India, we've always had a middle class who's always been, conservative with their spends. They have believed in spending. They do have these, there's always they've been brought up with a culture that you need to save. Whereas if you look at the jet setters, they've been lucky that a lot of, they've been lucky for whatever reasons, and they've enjoyed life. They've believed in Instagrammable experiences, among other things. And for all these people, how will they reevaluate their lifestyle? Not only because of the money factor. For many, money may not even be the factor, but it's just simply a healthy way of living. And depending on the life they embrace, accordingly, the brands will have an offering for them, and accordingly, the brands will engage with influencers to communicate on this life of happiness. Happiness means different things to different people, and therefore that is a relative word.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Parthip. So on a lighter note, Parthip, what's next for you at Wedding Sutra?
I think for us at Wedding Sutra, it is really to figure out that once weddings start, how can we communicate to the people all that they need to know? Today's experiences show that it is impossible to control everybody all the time. And people do not even want to be controlled. But what they want is good advice. After a certain point, we find so many messages which are coming. This is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing. These are the lists. I feel some of them can be cruel. Imagine telling your family, putting up a list for them as soon as they come. That change has to come from within. Similarly, as people, and we will notice that for the first time, probably, I think for the longest time, everybody has looked at the Indian wedding as a way to generate employment. I will give you an example of something which happened in the early or the mid 90s, when a very prominent diamond merchant, he had a 4,000 pax wedding for his daughter in Marine Drive. and there were huge sets and very elaborate decor. There were protests by NGOs right outside the wedding on the wastage. But let's just do a fast forward to what happened, maybe what has happened between 2015 and 2020. There is a general perception that it is your personal thing, it is your family experience, you're free to do what you would like to do. And there's also an understanding that you are generating employment for so many people. There are so many of my wedding industry friends who are currently on Insta Live. And I really enjoy meeting them. One of them, I think he was here, Shaan Khanna, who's one of the biggest wedding decorators in Delhi and Bangalore. When I go and sometimes I just tell them that it's more fun seeing what they do during the day rather than going and seeing, the whole setup. But when you go there, it is so heartening when you see how truckloads of items are coming, how their workers are working through the day, how food arrangements and stay arrangements are being made for them. And that is the best part about the wedding industry. It is so labor intensive. I do know that a lot of people were a little disappointed that for so many reasons, weddings were going abroad. And now they feel that many of these weddings will be here. And the good news is, someone was telling me, how can you create the most Instagrammable decor for 2021? I said probably that will be the one which would have generated employment for maximum number of people.
Absolutely.
And with least wastage. So we do hope that and I think even a couple of weeks back, I said the reason why the wedding industry was known to be recession proof was because that it was never treated as an expenditure. It was something which you were doing in your community. These were religious functions. Now, coming back to this, we all have to be careful that the wedding will really be under the lens. There could be some families who follow all protocol, all things, but they could go wrong on one thing. And they could be in the front page. So just who imagined that the media really talked about the big fat wedding of a Karnataka Politico. It was not a big fat wedding. It had 125 guests. They would have thought, okay, we've got permission for 75 people, or Bangalore permits 75 people. Let's stretch it to 125. What is 50? But we all know how much trouble and what a bad press they have got. Also, let us just...
That was terrible.
And also, let's step back and say that a lot of people today, after seeing that, they will know that you have no option but to maintain social distancing, even for a wedding. If you've got a permission for 50 people, you figure a way out, because even if you don't flash pictures, your guests there will be disappointed when they go. So now all this comes to our traditions have always been about blessings, love, and warm embraces. How will the wedding industry, and we also have to create the content which is relevant. We always had a little struggle because we have over 2.5 million followers, and we know that not every bride is going to be able to afford an Abu Jani Sandeep Khosla or a Tarun Tahyani or Dinesh Malhotra. There are so many brides who are inspired by Wedding Sutra and are looking for options, and it's really not easy creating content for brides in every city and from every budget. Now, going forward, we also have to create content which is relevant and useful. So what's next for Wedding Sutra? How do we create content which is relevant, useful for brides, which is also serves as a very good advisory for the thousands of wedding entrepreneurs who will be just wondering, like for example in Italy, for a lot of countries which are very dependent on tourism, they have already started giving directives to hotels and venues on the number of guests, but they've gone a step ahead by even giving instructions. Now we know in India, while our governments are struggling with certain real issues and medical issues, those who are homeless among others, it will take some time. And even if venues open, the Taj of the world thanks to their infrastructure, experience, and people will be able to follow those directives and execute it. But what about those who decide to get married at the simple mandaps, which are actually hosting 90% of the weddings in India? So these are the things. And how do we, second, how do we really give these wedding entrepreneurs or wedpreneurs, as is a term which both of us once came up with, relevant advice? And going forward, how does Wedding Sutra engage then come up with new forms of communication to keep them updated on the new wedding world, which could be a temporary wedding world?
Yeah, I hope it's temporary, and I hope we go back to the normal weddings, because we all miss weddings for sure. But Parthip, this has been great. You've given us so much great insight into your life, into Wedding Sutra and the future of weddings. We are running out of time, though we have a lot of questions. You've got a lot of thumbs up. You've got people saying great positive thoughts. Well said. You're so insightful. Thank you so much. Absolutely true. Parthip, as usual, you speak so well and always you're on point with your advice. So thank you for joining us today. We have run out of time, so I'm going to let you go. But thank you for joining us today and spending your 3 p.m. With us on our Insta Live. And I hope to see you back again soon, and maybe at an event now.
Absolutely. And for those of your followers for whom I've not been able to answer a question, you could send, you could DM me, and I will send you my email address, and we can take it from there. Thank you, Shaan.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Parthip, one last thing before I leave you. How does everyone apply to your awards? So I do know that you have, are they closed, or how does that work?
So the thing is, for Wedding Sutra Photography Awards, it's closed. Wedding Sutra Influencer Awards, it's open. And I know a lot of people who've also said that they want to be present on our, on our site. For all questions, I request you to send an email to editor@weddingsutra.com. And me or someone from our team will reply to you. Many of you have said, how can I be on your site? Please excuse us in case we're not able to, reply to you promptly, but send an email to editor@weddingsutra.com. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Parthip. See you soon. Bye.
See you.